Call to order the regular board meeting for USD 464 for Monday, February the 10th. If you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one adjustment on our agenda. I'd like to, before we approve that, I'd like to move that we amend the agenda by swapping item 1.8 and 1.9. We'll let Mitch will be last, I guess, on the group of people. So, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as it's amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried. With that, we will move on to 1.4. Mr. Farrar.
Good evening. A couple weeks ago, we embarked on a challenge to replace Mr. Brent Smith. And we were searching for somebody who was, number one, passionate about kids, strong in curriculum, brings positive energy every day, and I believe that we found exactly what we were looking for in Ashley Olerich. And so we wanted an opportunity to introduce her to you guys. Ashley.
Thank you guys for having me tonight. It's like the first time I've been out here when it hasn't been snowing or I've seen before. So it was actually a great drive tonight. This opportunity is amazing. I'm super excited to accept it and take this. I'm completely passionate about what I do, and I think that's going to come out pretty clearly with everything that I try to take on and help an already amazing culture at Tonganoxie, which I'm excited about. I actually, Olathe kid, graduated from Olathe, went to University of New Mexico for college. I'm a softball player. Softball coach, and then came back and have been teaching and coaching at college level, and then got back into the high school level. Olathe West, a brand new high school, and I opened that 3 years ago as the head softball coach, department chair, and just kind of worked my way building a brand new school and a brand new program. So those challenges over the last 3 years, I think, definitely helped kind of provide what I needed in order to really take this on with full gusto and make sure that we're implementing everything that needs to be implemented. I am a big believer in curriculum and instruction and doing things the right way in schools. I have a huge passion for every student being able to learn. Looks different, and that's kind of what I'm excited about, is making sure that we're truly reaching every student. My husband is also a teacher and coach. He's at Olathe North. We're super busy, so it makes it fun, with also a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. He's the head boys basketball coach at Olathe North, and then he's PE out there as well. And then we have a little 1-year-old girl, Macy, and a 5-year-old boy. The 5-year-old's a piece of cake. It's the 1-year-old girl that's giving us a run for our money right now. Other than that, we're all family-based. Everyone's kind of out here. It's super nice. We are huge Hawkeye fans. I don't know if that ruffles anyone's feathers or on that. We are on the black car out there with the Hawkeye license plate. So Hawkeye gear definitely will be sported as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to meet everybody tonight, and I'm excited to get along. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brian, it's your turn.
All right. Before I get started, I've Mrs. Blazer. I just want to go over a few things before, and I'll make this quick because I know we've got a big agenda. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for all the support that they provide to school, and also Mr. Feldkamp. It's been great. This is my second year, and it just keeps getting better. And we've had a few things go on this year in the building. One thing that's really exciting that's been off to a good start, and we're looking forward to our second year, is our pre-K program. And Joe Rogers has done an outstanding job with that, and next year we'll be adding another early childhood classroom in the building. So we're gonna have some more moves this summer, but those are going great. Our PTC has been outstanding and so supportive. Just a few things that they've done. Just met with some people from maintenance. We're going to be putting a wheelchair swing on the playground. We've got it put up. We just need to adjust it. That was a big purchase for us. They've purchased several things. I think we got $2,500 worth of books at the beginning of the year for kids. They just did a portable sound system for our PD department that we've already used and we'll be using at the carnival. And this year, with the PTC and the help of our staff, we've done grade level class activities for every grade. And this fall, we had our dads and donuts with our second grade and moms with muffins in our first grade. And it was a huge success. Just amazing how many parents came out and support, especially from our West-Haven people. And finally, as we got a couple things coming up with the PTC, we will have our Fun Fest Carnival on February 22nd, and we're excited to get that rolling. And the PTC has really expanded. The last meeting I went to, there were actually 2 other males in there beside me, so we had some dads come, so that was cool. And then finally, one of the things we're getting ready for, we just had an organizational meeting. We'll have our Fun Run fundraiser the last week of March, with the fun run scheduled for April 2nd at the football field. So we're going to be able to go out and get all of our elementary kids on the field. Last year we were able to raise $20,000, and my goal this year is to raise $40,000. Now some people call me unrealistic, but I'm optimistic. We've got great support, and we've been able to put, the PTC has put all that money back into a lot of different things, so we're excited about that. Our staff is working hard, as we'll discuss here shortly, as we continue to strive to be the best elementary in the state of Kansas. And that's what our goal is. We want to be known around the state for the things we do academically, the programs we provide, and most importantly, the support that we have for our kids. I'll give you an example tonight. Mr. Henry was worried, but Mr. Henry drove after school down to St. Luke's Children's Mercy because we had a kid that had surgery today, and he was all stressed out about his surgery. He's going to be in a wheelchair for a week. And so as soon as he got off the clock, he drove down to visit this kid and just made his day. He sent me some pictures, and that's the kind of commitment that not only Mr. Henry shows, but the rest of our staff. And tonight, Mrs. Blazer will be helping me with the presentation. And last but not least, I think the thing that is the greatest about working here is our partnering with the other schools. Last week, we had the Chieftain Singers come up for our Student of the Month ceremony. They sang. I'm hoping to get the band in here. This fall, we had the homecoming week where we had the drum line come in. Another thing Mr. Henry and Mr. Mellon organized is we had our senior athletes from this fall for football, volleyball, and cross country greet our kids at the door, and that was great, and we're hoping to do that again this spring. So just all the good things that we have, and it's truly a school community, and I'm just feel real happy to be part of that. So I want to share those things before we kind of go over our update from last September. Any questions on that? I hope I can run this for us. Give me a crash course. You can come up here. So just an update. And I went back and looked at the presentation the last week or so to just see what we're doing. So I just kind of built on. Last fall, we shared 3 areas we're looking to make improvements on in the building line. Improving our student intervention program, our protocols, which we call our Brave Support Period. Improving our assessment scores by using data to drive our decisions through the MAP. And then also improving our reading program by adding phonics back into our reading curriculum. What is BSP? Just a quick reminder, it's our intervention. It's 45 minutes each day where we work on math and reading, and we break our students into 3 tiers, tiers 1, tiers 2, and all available staff will be working with students. And we are moving in the right direction. It's very impressive to see the things that our staff is doing and reacted well. But we still are trying to get the perfect, I guess, that's another pie in the sky, but the best intervention plan. So this fall we created a BSP committee with a representative from all grade levels in our SPED department and our title reading and math. And we've implemented several changes to the 45-minute entry period, and we're seeing improvements with our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students just by getting some structure and expectations. And now our final protocols and resources that we're going to have for all those students, we want to have that in place at the start of next school year. Mrs. Blazel's been very integral in organizing that. We've had a couple long days of planning, but we are moving in the right direction. And I'm, sometimes change takes a little bit, and I think with what we talk about with our phonics and our reading, we're going to start seeing some real growth in our scores, and that's the expectations for us, because we have great kids and we have great staff. They just need a little more structure and expectations. So, data-driven decisions. We make a financial commitment to math in this district, and it is a great program. It's a well-rounded program that can go K-12. And these are just some of the things that we use. I just want to remind that when we're making decisions in the elementary, it's based on the data that we have, because those are the best decisions for our kids. And how we're, second, improving our assessment by using data. A couple things that we did. This, about a year ago when I first got here, there was a math fluency piece that was designed for K through 2. And it was new. And we kind of looked at it, but we weren't ready to dive in. They've made several improvements. In this fall, again, we started looking at it. We had some money available, so we bought 250 licenses, and we had test groups in each grade level to implement the fluency. It's an online assessment that you can do in the classroom, all the kids at once. It's real quick. And what's been great, we've talked to the teachers that have been doing that, and the feedback that we're getting and the data that we're seeing is kind of tied into what we're doing in phonics. The teachers like it. There are still some kinks because you have to put a headset on a student and they have to speak into a microphone here, almost like they're calling a Monday Night Football game. But we're working those things out, and some of the teachers, we had different teachers that weren't really excited about it, do the initial run of it, and ones that weren't. And it's kind of interesting that the ones who are kind of skeptical are really liking the data. So that's a good thing. We're optimistic that along with our Fontes and Pinnell benchmarking that we've been doing for over 17 years in this district, partnered with that math fluency piece, that we're going to do a better job of recognizing the needs of those students that are having trouble reading earlier and get them back into on track. So, and I hope that our improvements will be seen through our state assessments and our in-building assessments. And then it brings to our phonics, and I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Blazel real quick. We felt like we were missing something in our phonics, or in our reading program, because kids were getting in 4th and 5th grade and they were still lacking some skills. So through the math fluency and just talking and looking at our assessments, we recognized as staff that we needed a phonics program that will help kids from pre-K all the way up to 5th grade. So I'm going to let Mrs. Blazel. She was in charge of the committee, and I'll let her take over on that.
Well, we did create a phonics committee that included our kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, a representative from 3rd grade, our title reading, and a interrelated teacher. And so we felt like those were really, we needed to get back to the basics in our elementary primary levels. So when we looked at what kind of phonics program we wanted something that was proven to be effective, something that fell in line with the dyslexia guidelines that are coming down from the state, and something that teachers could easily implement in their classroom and would be, a great resource for them. So when we looked at that, we looked at the Sonde system, looked at several different systems, but we narrowed it down to a couple. And the Sonde system is a program that we're already using in our title program. And so in order to remain consistent, and it had 99.9% of everything we wanted in this program, and so we wanted to remain consistent, have the same language across our intervention pieces as well as our instructional pieces in the classroom. So we, as a committee, decided on the Sonde phonics curriculum. And the one piece that it was kind of missing for our pre-K, K1 was the phonics phonemic awareness piece. So when we looked at that, Haggerty has an awesome system that addresses that concern that we had, and has a really focused piece on that. So we went ahead and decided to pair those two together to come up with what we're hoping to be the perfect program to address our phonics needs.
And again, what is this all tied to? It's tied to a balanced literacy program. And the phonics instruction is the foundation of that. And last fall, I told you about our balanced program. Phonemic awareness, phonics instruction, vocabulary fluency, comprehension, and writing. And we were missing the first two P's. So ultimately, we were never going to get to the point where we could be writing and comprehending things. And we are really excited about this. And we've got the Haggerty part in place. And we've ordered the Sunday resources. And once we get that, we'll schedule a training, and we'll hit the ground running. And I think we're going to see a big improvement with our kids in reading. And the thing that people forget is when you can't read or struggle with read, it turns into having some behavior issues. So there's going to be some auxiliary positive effects by having a complete phonics program in the building, something that they've been lacking. And the nice thing about it is, and our reading recovery people aren't here, they were the ones, when they went to the Sunday training last spring, through the co-op, came back and said, yeah, we are missing phonics in ours. So it's really been a nice way to really connect and bring all of our staff together on the same page. So those are the things that we're doing. We're moving in the right direction. We're always trying to improve in a lot of areas, but we really narrowed those three down this fall, and I think we're moving in the right direction. I'm looking forward to our state assessments this spring. One of the things, real quick, on the state assessments, our fun run is the week of state assessments. So people are like, what are you going to do? We got state assessments. Well, we're going to have a whole week of character development, positive experiences, and my thought is we're going to get the kids excited through the fun run, through our character program, and be ready to go and do their very best on the test. And that's what we stress to them. It's just you have to do your best. You're the only one that can determine that. And we're excited about taking state assessments. Believe it or not, we're excited about taking the test so we can see some growth. But you're all welcome to come up anytime and check it out. But I really am excited about what we're doing at the elementary school. We've got great staff. We will be interviewing next week for our music position, which will be open because of Wanda Haney's retirement, and we're hoping at the March board meeting we'll have a recommendation for you guys for the hire. Other than that, we are going to move a couple staff members around, and I'll share that with Mr. Feldkamp, and we'll show it because we're going to wait until our PD day on Thursday to tell the staff who's moving. It's always difficult when you have internal movement from one grade level to another. But we've done our legwork, and the two people that will be moving, because our third grade will go down back up to a 7 section, and our fourth grade will go down to 6, and we've also had to make an adjustment. So we've met with all the people we're excited about, and we'll make that announcement to the entire staff on our PD day on Thursday. So, any questions?
So I know when the map, the middle school's used it for a long time, and then has been tracking the data, so that you'll be able, you're going to have that set. I know you can't really necessarily set a goal. Well, you can set a goal, but we're going to be able to actually have data to track progress and find kind of what's working.
Well, when I got here a year ago, I set some bold goals. But one of the things we want to do with our improved reading program and the more use of the data from math is that when kids get in third grade, again, I want 100% of kids at or above reading level by third grade. That's why we're going to hit the early intervention so hard. And then our next goal is when you leave TES and go to middle school, we want 100% of our kids to be at or above reading level as they enter into the middle school. And that hasn't been the case. And it's no fault of the teachers. We just didn't have a plan. We have some programs in place, and we're going to be able to do that. MAP keeps continuing to improve. The data that they can share and that you can pull up real easily and go into different interventions is phenomenal. We just got to keep working with our teachers to trust it and take advantage of it. So if we see a trend, say in second grade or in fourth grade, we can identify what resources to go to just from that data back, and then look at those interventions and start catching those kids up. But I've started math in another district almost 15 years ago, and it's like night and day to what the programming is and what you can do. Before, you just got some numbers. Now we got graphs, we got resources, and it can streamline either an individual or a group of kids if you're struggling in an area.
So I have
Yes.
a question. So the opposite end. So if this addresses and streamlines kids that are struggling and helps them, is there any program that you've implemented or does it even exist where you can help the kids on the other end because I think what happens, especially in elementary school, is that it's always up to the teacher. So if you have a teacher that is dedicated to doing extra work and making the extra spelling lists and giving them extra, higher level reading, they'll do that. But sometimes you end up in a class where the teacher doesn't have that time or they don't recognize that. And so kids on the other end up, some years it's great and they get pushed and some years they don't. So,
Well, what's interesting, that's a good question. You always struggle with both ends, the ones that are real high achievers, and what do you do with them? How do you challenge them? And then the ones on the low end, how do you get them caught up? And one of the things we're doing this year in 3rd grade, and we're going to implement it in 4th grade, and in 2 years in 5th grade, and just an example is level math. We've leveled all of our 3rd grade math classes, and we have 2 groups. So we're a low, a medium, and a high group, and we've taken 2 teachers that will work with the low kids, 2 that work with the middle, 2 with the high. Because what happens, if you have a classroom of 20 kids, and you've got just all kinds of levels all over the place, it's hard to make sure everybody's at the level they need to. So the 3rd grade took it and ran with it, and they enjoy teaching. There's fewer problems because the high kids are working with the high kids, and we can challenge them more. And the low kids can start catching up because everybody's on their same level. And if you're in a room as a kid and you can't do what everybody else is doing, you shut down. And you don't ask questions, you feel embarrassed. This way, they can look around and know that everybody in that group is having the same challenges and all those things. As far as a program that says, all right, this is for our high flyers, that's one of those groups sometimes that just gets overlooked. And it is a challenge for our teachers to do that. But I feel like once we get the phonics program in place and we get some things identified and we start getting that lower group caught up, then we're going to be able to do more things with our higher level kids and challenge them because they're just as important as the lower ones. And sometimes when you just focus on the whole group as a whole, those kids get caught and they're bored. They become maybe a discipline issue. And the only reason is they just want to keep challenging. But we have teachers that are already doing that. But I think as we implement this program and get some more feedback, then we're going to be able to identify what we can do for those high achieving kids.
yeah, it seems like district-wide, it is something you can excel. You can always move up in math. I feel like even, in every building, there's opportunities to do that. But I don't see the discipline problem I just see the kids getting bored. They feel like, I'm going to school for 8 hours a day and I'm not being challenged, so that's.
And you're spot on. We have kids like that. And I think the start is, like I said, doing the level math to try to get those kids that are in a higher level to speed them up. Because if you have they change in curriculum instruction all the time, but if you're making sure the bottom end, per se, is caught up, you leave these high kids behind sometimes. And, sometimes it is boredom. Sometimes it is, well, I don't have nothing to do, so I'm going to act out and do something. But, again, we recognize that we have some kids on both ends that need help. And we're going to start at the bottom, just like the Balanced Literacy Program, build a foundation and start working up. And I know that's maybe difficult for some parents or kids that may be in 4th or 5th grade that are high flyers. But our goal is that every kid is challenged at the appropriate level so they can have success.
Miles, questions?
Again, we appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys giving us the time to come up.
Thank you. Thank you. Lori?
You bet.
Okay, so I am just here to kind of talk about mid-year. Now that we've made it through the middle of the year,
we can report on numbers, projections, kind of where we're standing. I like to do the bad news first. It's not horrible news. That's just kidding. But we did just have our enrollment audit, and some of you probably know, when we build our budget, we're building it based off of an estimate, a number that we are estimating. And then they come and audit our enrollment. So they just did that, and we went down 10 FTE. So basically, $44,000 that we thought we were going to have when we built the budget. We're not. The good news is, according to my projections, we're halfway through the year, so my projections start to feel a little more comfortable now that we're halfway through the year. We're going to be okay. Everything seems to be coming out the way it's been planned, so I don't have any concerns. I don't have any major red flags, nothing that's too concerning. I thought I would start with, though, that being said, I'm not going to go through every fund, but I thought we could talk about capital outlay. And one of the things that, can I make that? I can make it bigger. One of the things that I think some people were interested in was kind of seeing trends. So I put together that beginning cash balance for each year. So that's the amount that we had to start the year in reserves. And so you can see for 16-17 what our beginning cash balance was, and then our revenue, and then our expenditures, which brought us to 17-18 with that beginning cash balance. So you can kind of see that trend. For next year, my projections show that we'll be just over 1.5 million starting out in capital outlay. There's a couple of reasons for that. We are spending into our cash balance a little bit. This year we've had some extra expenses, which we've talked about. And so, but I think I'm comfortable with that number. It's our goal to be there at the end of the year and start the new year with that much. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys those trends, and I can email them too, because I don't think I have them in the packet. So anyone who would like to email, I'll certainly send that. The next thing I was going to go over was our indebtedness. Can you see that? So currently, the indebtedness that we have right now, I'm sorry, that's kind of small, is the Bank of America leasing that train payment. We make 2 payments. We make 2 payments per year. Total is 210,000, a little over 210,000 on those. But that is the only thing we have left, other than I'll come down to our new payment. We have paid off 2 loans this year. One of them was for 2 buses, and one of them was a technology upgrade. That the buses originated in 2015, and the technology upgrade originated in 2016. We've paid those off, but I believe we're still trying to decide how much of that technology upgrade may be needed for our technology department still. And I don't think we've made any decisions yet. We're still kind of discussing what the need is there. So if you take into account that we've paid those off, that frees up, again, other than the technology needs, that would free up $114,800 per year. Then below that, though, is our new turf payment. That's going to be due next school year, so it's December of 2020 is our first payment. That payment is $150,000, but we luckily have turf donations. So underneath that, you'll see that I figured our annual payments. So those are the people who have pledged to give annually for the next 5 years. And then there were people who did one-time donations or online donations, and I just divided those by 5, figured I'd use 1/5 of that each year. So the district would actually be responsible for about $86,000 for that annual payment. And so with that, the loans that are paid off and the new loan, we would still have freed up about 28,415. Again, we haven't come to a conclusion on what of that is going to be needed for technology, so.
Then one other strategy that we're holding out on is last year we made a double payment on the train
We did.
lease. We haven't decided if we're gonna do that again yet this year, just based on where we're at with our capital outlay cash balances.
And my projections with being just over 1.5 million on our capital outlay is not that extra train payment.
Yeah.
When
It
does,
doesn't, it's just the two that we have to make.
and that pays off like
2023, January of 2023, I believe. Although this says July of
I think it's July.
It's January of 2022, I'm sorry, because we made that extra payment.
Oh, okay.
So that changed when we made that extra payment. It still shows July. It was originally July.
what's that?
Will we need those, will the train systems remain the same as we change with our
We own them.
building?
You
I was just-
yeah, if it's, we checked into that, like demolishing the ones on the east wing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm told.
Still make the pay, yeah.
I mean,
so-
there's not much we can do with those
Yeah.
rooftops. We try to sell
Well, that's what I was like, yeah.
them. Haven't had, I don't know how much success there will be on that.
There's a market for it, there's, I guess,
We're talking about the demo side of the east wing of some of those rooftops. They're gonna be 10 years old.
There's lots of little ones there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've drove through and looked at it.
We'll look into it.
it'd be pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. We own them, so that's all we know.
We don't know.
Are we still soliciting donations on the turf program?
Absolutely, there's. Guys?
Yes. The answer is yes. Have I been super active at it lately? No. So is it on my to-do list? Yes. Will I do it? Yes. I promise.
So I'm sure you could also take that if other people have that.
You want to help me? Yeah. Good job.
I thought he was asking for a reason, but I don't know. Does anybody have any questions?
I think the big thing that we want to reiterate is that we're right in line where we thought we were going to be. You know, we spent down some cash balances last year out of, well, I mean, wage increases and insurance increases and all those types of things, and yet we're still in good shape as we head toward the end of the year. So that's what we were looking for in a mid-year projection or
Yeah.
end of year projections.
Yeah, and like I said, I would feel better mid-year with the
Mhm.
projections, just because we've got halfway under our belt. so.
Right, so we're staying within budget, and I think the whole board knows that we have spent down cash balances in capital outlay, and some of that was from necessity, and you know, it could be the tractor or the mowers, and all those things that we've done that haven't been purchased for a while, so that creates
And also
that
the
deficit.
buses.
Yeah. So, our hope is that this bond issue helps correct a lot of those, you know, items that haven't been addressed for years. Could be parking lots, could be some roofs, it could be HVAC, a lot of those things. So, that's where we're headed.
No questions?
I do. So the difference in enrollment, that's a difference of 10 based on our estimate, not a difference. between
Because
last
when we
year.
build the budget, all we have is an estimate.
Right.
So, when we build it in July, we don't know the exact enrollment
Right,
numbers.
right.
So then when they come and do the audit, that's what we're actually gonna get paid from. That's where our revenue will be based off of.
That's the per student reimbursement. I mean, that's not counting property tax. money that
Right,
we
that's
get. I
just
mean, we-
the aid. the state
Yes,
aid.
yes, just the delta in the aid from
Mhm.
the state,
The
right?
base aid.
Yeah.
Lori's doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate all her work.
Jill?
Don't pass out.
no.
She's not feeling real well, so,
Oh no.
100%.
yeah, I know.
Well, we're moving along with buses. Things are going pretty well. We've had a few icy mornings, but we've done okay. Use the mailbox, but to talk to you about a possible, new bus. So I do have some bids here. I only made 8 copies, sorry. But we've been getting our buses from Midwest Bus, which is located here in Bonner. And I'm happy with them. It's convenient as far as if we need to take something in. Fortunately, that doesn't happen too often with a brand new bus, but, it makes it nice because they're right down here. So that's what my recommendation would be, to continue to go with the Thomas bus from Midwest Bus. They come in, I think, $5 cheaper or something.
So is it 5 more? Kansas truck is the Bluebird, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just switch, $5 difference.
Yeah, $5 difference.
But Kansas truck's out of
And
Wichita.
that is for the 77 passenger, which is a little bit bigger bus, which is what we've been purchasing, just because of the growth, that we've been having. We need those larger buses. We've been using the 2 that we purchased last year. We've been using primarily for, some of our activities, being whether they're sporting activities or, the educational activities. We use those. They look nice and they provide the room that we need for some of the teens, especially with their equipment. They have they have luggage, so that's been really nice. Our new bus, if we are able to get that, that would be, 4 routes, 4 route. So we wouldn't get like the luggage or anything like that. It would just be your standard 77 passenger bus.
Did you hear anything back on a possible trade value, or are we gonna have to purple wave it?
He only said like 12, 15.
Yeah, it's a highly rusted out bus.
Yeah.
I know that.
She's, reliable, I'll tell you that, but she doesn't look pretty.
So what you're saying, I love your saying, what do you say about the bus?
I said she doesn't have a lot of get up and go, but she will get up and go.
So,
I mean, this just fits right into our rotate. I mean, we had it in the budget and we had it planned.
Right.
We're just doing it a little earlier this year to make sure we have it on
Well,
time.
and that's the thing, it takes a while. They build the bus, so I did talk to my guy and he said if we had it ordered by early April, we should be able to get it by the start of school. So if we can order it before then, great. That would just ensure to have it here for the first day of school.
ordering it now would be probably a June, early July arrival. And then you do your inspections and
We do our inspections in July, which it would be great to have it here for that, just so it can be inspected on the same day as everything else. So.
you're recommending the Thomas
Mhm.
at 84,115, correct?
The one highlighted in green there, yes.
Or is it the configured price on the third page?
It's on the, yeah. it's-
85,
85,
271.
271.
Which is the low.
Oh, it is a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, thank you. So the used bus will probably, we'll either look at Purple Wave perhaps, or salvage.
Right. The
If it's
dealer that I
reliable,
use
should we
thinks-
just keep it for a rainy day?
Well, we have a handful of those, don't we?
Yeah.
We do, we do.
Okay.
It's a highly, it's our oldest bus. It's a 2003.
It's a 2003. And it's by far the most.
Well, and Jill gave us a pretty detailed report last fall, but I mean, you have a handful of buses that you keep for the rotation or when one breaks down and things like that.
Yes, it's really
rotation.
needed, like you said, to keep it because, to keep some, because you have a bus that breaks down or you know, we do have our 2 activity buses, but it's not uncommon to have more than 2 activities going out. So you've got to use a spare bus because the bus is out on a trip or whatnot, so.
So this bus would rank at the bottom of the existing spare pool?
Yes.
And what did you say the used value was?
1250. He came out today and did some pictures and whatnot.
I think that's a better market than Purple Wave.
It might be.
In my opinion.
It might be. I don't think we'll get a whole lot more than that.
I don't think it's worth the challenge. With no reserve on Purple Wave?
Because even salvage is around that value.
Yeah.
They're just looking at the engine.
I mean, at least you know you're getting that money.
Yeah. Thought.
So, so we had I was looking back through, past meetings and there was a list of bus rotation. So this is in accordance with that plan, because I couldn't find the list. So,
I have that, but
yeah, so, but this was part of that plan. Okay.
Well, we did like 2 last year, I think.
Yeah.
But I think the intent is kind of have one constantly.
Yes.
One a year.
Meet our needs, I believe.
And last year we got a grant and
yeah.
we didn't
No,
get
I
that
did
this
hit
year.
up for the
Yes, she did.
again, but we waiting for this year.
Appreciate you trying on that. Thanks for coming in if you're sick.
Hope you feel better.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions? All right, thanks, Jill.
Sorry, any other questions?
You're good.
Good, all right. Luke,
Yeah.
Aaron, and everyone, I don't,
No, I know that DLR's.
you get awake, Mitch, you're last.
He
Don't say that.
with the DLR. He's doing a lot of the design. He might introduce Lee, right?
Yeah. Well, she's getting up. This is
Yep.
Darren Lee. So I think he's been in the meeting before, and some of you met him. So, but Darren's involved with us, project executive, leader in operations.
He's been getting a lot of emails from you lately.
So, fellow board.
All right. So, oops. Wasn't a very smooth start to this. Just trying to make it bigger for you guys.
Well, you'll get a lot of practice by the time this is over.
Be a well-oiled machine, won't it?
I'm just gonna take it out of presentation mode so I can actually zoom in and you guys can see these a little bit better, but, so kind of a little update on the project. It's been a busy several weeks, working heavily with, County Gordon and DLR. We just came from a 4-hour team meeting, drilling down into the schematic design budget and getting ready for a presentation on that. So, this is a project update form that I intend to use for these board meetings going forward on a monthly basis. So if you guys have any comments, and I can email this out following the board meeting so you guys can have time to digest it a little bit further. But comments, suggestions, additions to this, I am open to hear this. This is just my standard form that I've used in the past. So.
Well, I think, sorry to
No,
interrupt,
go
but I
ahead.
do think like I think we all got set up with the new machines too, so that, I mean, we can either put it part of the agenda or have it on the Google Drive or something, and then everybody can
It'd be great to have it before.
pull it up. I mean, I would
It'd be great to have it before the meeting too.
Yes, yeah, going forward, I think we'll make
Yep.
an effort to get this put together. Being the first one, kind of trying to compile all the information here. So, just have a budget section at the top here, that will break out, construction costs, soft costs, and contingency. We're spent a lot of our meeting today going through what these are. Some of that, what is actually listed as contingency right now is actually part of escalation and construction costs. So I don't want to get too excited about there being $3 million in contingency. So as we go through this current column, next time we get together, we'll be populated with the schematic design budget presentation numbers.
and that will, change at each budget update going forward. Then we have kind of our baseline, substantial completion dates of the different phases of the project. Again, as we make the schematic design presentation coming up, we'll populate those dates and against the current dates. What we spent a lot of time working with McCown Gordon and DLR over the last 2 weeks was really digging into the schedule and inserting a lot more dates to give you all a better visibility to what is going on behind the scenes and what steps are coming up as the design and budgeting process goes forward. So have kind of a key deliverables section and then key milestone dates. So starting with deliverables, you can see here we'll be delivering the schematic design board package on the 19th for the special board meeting on the 20th to review that. And then other milestones coming up, or deliverables coming up. Following that will be the site package to bid out for construction documents for the utilities and the demo. We'll have the DD package following that, GMP, and then the final construction document, GMP, that will lock in all the pricing for the entire project.
What do all those mean? I have no idea.
So SD, schematic design, so they're the different phases, and you guys join us here. So right now we're in that schematic design phase, which is the, kind of programming, getting the spaces where they go. And
So the pretty pictures.
yeah.
And a basic layout of how it all lays out.
Okay.
So this February 19th date will be a package that includes a budget from McCown Gordon based on a set of design documents and narratives of what the design is going to be, that from DLR. And so all that information will be brought in front of the board on the 20th to get a approval per se to keep moving the project forward. So the next phase will be the DD, which is design development, and that's when we start really digging into each specific space and saying washer and dryer goes here, here's where the lockers are, for the gym side, the classrooms, more specifics about what goes into each room. So same process will go through on the DD, where behind the scenes, McCown's working on budgeting, DLR's working on design, we come together, get that put into a package to bring back to the board, and that just updates that, the budget projections on that. And then you move into the construction documents, which is really putting all the final nitty-gritty details that McCown Gordon will execute a guaranteed maximum price contract on for the construction work.
Perfect. Thanks. I'll try to remember all those.
In between that, this site GMP, there will be an early contract package for McCown to bid out and award the utility relocations and the demolition of the district office and the church building.
Yep.
So I had a lot of room, so I put a lot of dates in here. Just trying to give you guys as much transparency. And as you can see, between today and May, there is a lot going on. So we have a lot of meetings coming up. I believe Mark and Lauren were gonna send out the teacher questionnaires today.
Mark?
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, there's still a few hours left in there.
We're getting those out to teachers.
Okay. So that's the first line item up here. And so I know there's been a lot of questions about when all the stakeholders and the teachers and everybody involved in the school get their input. So this questionnaire, developed by DLR, goes out to everybody, and they can give their feedback to Mark and their team, which will be presented during a series of detailed design meetings with DLR over the next
Does
month.
that include the entire scope of all facilities, or is it just
Yeah.
learning center and function with the gym and everything?
It's all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, every teacher, administrator, whoever wants one can get one. And so then we'll set up DLR will set up departmental meetings that will bring specific stakeholders and to work through all those comments and figure out how they fit into the design. So I have on here the board presentation for the schematic design on the 20th. Again, the site package, board presentation on the 11th. These are kind of approximate dates right now. We haven't actually officially set those, but the dates we're shooting for. Design development, board presentation, and then we get into the nitty-gritty of the work. So McCown will start mobilizing for the site utility package around the 18th of May. You want to talk a little bit about what that means, Darren?
Yeah, right now, the last day of school, if I remember, is the 18th of May. And so our plan is that the following week, we would go ahead and we'd probably start coming in, just running a few fences, but knowing the real mobilization in our mind would take place a week later after when you guys have to vacate, take some time to get out of the spaces that we need, that we're going to go ahead and demolish. Figure out what we're kind of do with the buses that are parked in the back. And I have a site logistics plan that we'll go through here and just kind of show you what our plan is for the summer. But the initial mobilization would be, we would start the Monday after that last day of school, and then, but you would really start seeing things happening probably a week after that, because we understand you guys need a little bit of time after the last day of school to vacate some of the places for us.
It's all testing, for materials, if there's any old paint, that kind of stuff will be done.
On the two buildings that are going to get demoed, right now he's actually scheduled for the 12th, and I need to send an email tomorrow to make sure you confirm that, but for this Wednesday, because there's no kids in. And he's going to come in and at least do the testing, and then we'll get a report and find out what needs to be abated before we go out and demo the buildings.
So this next date is approximate date to vacate the choir in the district office building, as Darren was talking about, 22nd. That same week, they will start removing the fuel station that's located there next to the district office, and shortly followed by actually demoing the buildings. So during that summer period is when all the utility relocates, the demo, all the site prep work will be going on before the final GMP board presentation, and then starting the footings foundations on the Learning Center in October.
Are we going to have a camera up, to where, I know a lot of projects do that, but.
So we can do a camera. We also have certified folks in-house that do drones. So we can do drone footage as well, which has been pretty cool. So
Yeah, I like those construction cameras. People just mount.
my superintendents hate it because we're like, hey,
Yeah, so they
what's that guy doing? Oh, you left the door open, man. What's up?
So that 4-hour meeting we had earlier, my battery is very low. So any other questions on milestone date? There's a full schedule attached here that Darren put together with DLR, and has a lot more specific dates, and we'll share that as well.
It's full through the design phase. The construction phase, since we really aren't documents yet, it's pretty rudimentary at this point in time, but it will definitely get more detailed as we get better drawings, that are further along.
Yeah, we'll see in here, design development has all these activities showing all the meetings that we have scheduled with departments and different areas So then at the bottom of this report, there's outstanding issues. So I know there's been a lot of discussion around the maintenance facility and fuel station. So I'll let Darren jump in with the site logistics plan that I think will help facilitate that conversation a little bit. The other items I have on here, talked along a little bit. The scope for the West Campus and the existing building renovations have not been fully developed yet, and that's a conversation we really need to start diving into here over the next month or 6 weeks. Coordination of utility road relocates and district fiber relocation. I think we made some good progress on that
We
today.
made great progress today.
Yeah, so that's becoming a lot more clear and focused and starting to have the right conversations with the utility companies in the city, so. And then the master budget, again, a lot of great conversation between us today regarding the construction costs versus all the FF&E costs that up to this point have really just been kind of a bucket allowance, and starting to divide that up, what McAllen's carrying in their construction costs versus what the district will be carrying for, you know, furniture and equipment and low voltage. So that will be further developed as part of the schematic design package that you want to see on the 20th or the 19th, I guess, before the 20th. So upcoming meetings, we have an OAC meeting tomorrow. And then, as I mentioned, we will start having these department design development meetings and food service and IT meetings to further define that scope. So I just want to throw this up there because I know we talked about it a little bit. I've started tracking a lot of the input requests that I hear from Lauren and Mark and Mitch and others, and kind of the status of how we've been addressing them with the team. So this will probably serve as more of a high level input, large items. There'll be a lot of little nitty gritty in those surveys that go out to everybody that will get documented more through the actual surveys themselves and the design development meetings. So.
Do you complete this? When do you complete all the surveys before the schematic design meet stuff we're going to see on the 20th, or is that still?
No, those teacher questionnaires become part of the design development process.
Part of that. Okay.
So they're due back on the 17th, 18th, and then we will have meetings to go through all those surveys the 24th and the 28th.
Yes, to put that in context right now, so at a schematic design level, if we were thinking about this room, we know there's walls and some ceilings, and some bookshelves and some windows. But we don't know where that goes or really what it looks like, and then the teacher questionnaires are gonna help really define, well, I think I'm gonna want some bookshelves over here for a collection, right? And I might want some student learning spaces over here. So that lets us refine that, put that budget a little more to, as the teachers have an opportunity to weigh in.
As long as the materials are consistent, and that kind of stuff is consistent with what was assumed as part of the schematic.
And so we're using our assumptions based on how we've worked with DLR before, and our experiences within the K-12 market.
Right.
To help guide those price points that we're setting at an SD level and carrying it forward.
So the 20th, I don't want to, if I'm steering us off track, and we're going to, but like the 20th, it's the square box, and we've had people involved between Aaron, Lauren, Mark, and whoever. We got the right amount of space, and this is what the general box is going to look like, roughly.
Right.
That's kind of what.
Some good pictures with it to give you a context of what it's going to look like, especially from the outside.
Is the adjacencies of like the organization of the rooms and how they set against each other pretty well defined at this point?
The floor plan is pretty well defined right now.
Okay.
I'm sure we're gonna have some tweaks after the teachers, everybody has a chance to look at it.
Right.
Thank you. Go ahead. I just kind of want to.
Yeah.
It's a nerve wracking when we come up. We're going to see drawings on the 19th and then vote on the 20th. What are we, what are we voting on?
Can we be sure and see on the 20th if there's any spaces where we're differing from what we told the constituents during the bond issue. So if we're doing something additive that we didn't ask for, I'd like to see that. Or if we're not doing something that we said we were gonna do, I'd like to see that. I don't know if there are or aren't, but I just wanna make sure that
That's brought to the surface.
that we're very consistent with and communicate if we deviate from that plan.
So before we go ahead and start those, just kind of preface with, this is kind of in the middle of, we're not quite done with it yet, where we are to the point of what our first thoughts are of what you would see happening right after school got out and through the summer, and then basically the first phase, which is the classroom addition. Before the 20th, we'll have the next phase of the gymnasium addition added in, and we'll start making around it when the paving changes and everything will happen. So how the whole thing will flow. But this is it. Just so this should just give you an idea of what the plan is here. So that's where our laydown space will be. That's the utility relocations that we have to do going through. So then demoing the buildings. And then about now is when school will come back. And basically we would build the classroom phase. Somewhere in there, after this, you'll see phase 3. We are making plans for the fact that we know that the staff feels like they need to maintain approximately 300 plus parking spaces. We're probably taking 90 some away. I think you have 340 right now, so we're probably still 50 short, somewhere in that range. We haven't finalized it yet. That's just a potential proposed spot for it. We have not landed on on finalizing that yet. That'll be something we'll work out with everybody to make sure that we have the right size and the shape and it's in the right place that people want it to be. But that's really what, the first phase of this summer, and then through building the classroom addition. So the fencing, you'll see we will, because of where the classroom addition comes out to the west, that current west drive basically will become unusable for district use. It cuts right into about half of it as it is the building does. And the way the building sets and the grade changes, we're gonna end up tearing out most of that drive, just putting the building in. So it's really gonna become our construction entrance for now. It does, if the buses are, depending on what your decisions are for the buses, they may need to use the east access in and out. So we've made provisions for the kids to come from the west campus to the main campus with the fencing. It's hard to see on this, but the fencing's out, away from the building, enough they can come out the doors, come down to the south, and then head over to the east to get into the main building. We've also left it a little bit off of the north face there. I know there's some exits there. There's a fire exit or somebody's, emergency drilled in there, and we'll go out that way, and they could go out to the west of the park to that grassy area as far as the means of egress. So right now, like I said, kind of our first blush, this is what we feel is the safest, most effective way to put this plan together for this part, keep the kids separated from our construction zone, and probably, and be able to go ahead and build the building.
So that entrance permanently goes away?
No, it'll come back. It'll come back. It's part of, but for construction, we can't have the.
No, I get it. So it's temporary.
Yeah. So one of the things you'll see as we get through this is this will be a lot more refined when you see it in 10 days. So this is sort of a snapshot. Drew, to your question about layout of rooms and stuff, we've taken DLR's model and dropped this in. And so you saw that. I don't know if you were able to see that. So one of the things as we go forward, you'll be able to see the layout of the floor plans as we go through that when the gym's built in. That'll happen as well. And then the detail will get much more involved with parking counts, traffic flow we'll add. Once we get everybody's input, bus traffic, student traffic and parking in there as well. So it can be a really good communication tool not only for this group, right, to help understand what's happening, but for parents, staff, Mark and his team, Mitch, everybody, make sure this is the right thing.
It says student access to practice fields. Are we still using that area over there for
Which
practice?
one?
Up on the corner, so it'd be.
I'm not real sure what they meant by that. That was a question I had because, well, that was for if they're gonna use it for the practice field, is that right?
Yes.
That's
If you
fine.
need
Like
access to-
soccer.
Yes, if we use it, yes,
Well, there-
which we probably will.
So there are a ton of younger teams
Yes.
that use that area. So as a district, there's going to have to be some rules or something because
Well,
At-
we've had youth football, soccer,
yeah,
some baseball.
softball.
There's no
And
good
we,
access.
what we want to visit with Mitch, we talked about this today, is how we're going to access
Yeah,
that
'cause right
field.
where that
There's
construction
no-
lay down is where everybody parks.
Well, yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have to communicate to the rec. and,
Yes.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
some of those.
it's a challenge.
Have to use our friends
talk
at the
about
mayor to
that.
put it, I mean, some people are just gonna have limited access. I mean,
Right, but just as long as everybody is
Knows
not
what
just
that access is.
a craziness when people show up not knowing.
I mean, maybe they can relocate to the park or something, or to the
Or the curve.
fairgrounds or something.
Oh.
I don't know, but I mean that conversation has to happen, and the word needs to get out, so they don't plan on that.
Right.
But also, I'm wondering about when you make temporary parking, do you bring in gravel, or you
Good question.
what's the cost of that?
Is that
Like that spot right there,
We
you
would
know, where,
typically bring in gravel, or see if we can find ways within the existing asphalt or whatever to move some stuff around to get that.
I know it would require students to walk farther, maybe
Could you
staff to
leave
walk
that up
farther,
there?
but
Are you gonna go to another slide?
could it not be possible?
It went to sleep. Pass through that.
Could it not be possible to create some permanent parking that actually would help people being able to park for the football games, that would be a little bit closer, that it would be able to, because like right now, we have very poor handicap parking down there for people who are on the home side. Visitor side, they have lots of handicap parking, but the home side has really no handicap parking there. So is there a way to create like a permanent parking
So
along there
that's
somehow?
part of
that-
what the evaluation is that we're undergoing now, and will frankly probably carry into some of the DD conversation as well, is really understanding how the parking will work and when we can get the permanent parking that's a part of the bond project in place to make sure that we're getting as much of that as we can done.
Because I'm thinking down closer to the football field.
I'd be nervous about putting in permanent parking or planning on it at this stage, just because I don't see the gym and everything else on there. I mean, we're at risk of whatever we put in now for permanent parking getting torn up as part of the just construction.
Well, she's talking even
I'm saying
closer,
closer
right
to
up
the
next to the
football
football.
field.
Oh, yeah.
I'm down, clear down, I know they'd have to
All the way down.
walk, but I'm thinking if there's,
if you're parking parallel, like if you're like where that practice field is, where the goal is, the yellow goal, then if you pull in and you're going sideways, that whole entire length,
Could be
that's
permanent park-
exactly
yeah, it would be permanent parking.
Yeah, so that's exactly my thought process was if you're hauling in gravel anyway, then it would make more sense to do it where in some way, shape or form that it could be utilized even afterwards versus throwing a bunch of gravel in that spot right there, which there's a big hill, right? And then if you put gravel there, it's never, that's not gonna be I mean, I don't believe it, maybe it would be. I don't think that probably would be a permanent spot, like in the future. So
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
a
I was kinda
placeholder
getting
for
at.
now. So absolutely, we can find places to do that stuff. So.
Yeah, it just, the soils here and everything, is a lot of clay, so, you might need to be putting down like a geotech and a crush quarry or something
We
like that. just to-
typically always put down the fabric at least underneath
Yeah.
the drill, because if you don't, you'll lose it.
Yeah, it'll drop out of, lots of drop out.
You ready?
Yeah,
You got anything else you wanna share?
no, that was it.
We're gonna transition into our next one, if you guys will hang in there with me.
Okay.
So our challenge, we've got challenges that we've talked about for several days, and Mitch has been a real big part of this. Now, I just wanna make sure I'm sure on this. So you're expecting the students to go out the cafeteria door And then are they gonna go north in there, or are they gonna come in behind into the cafeteria?
If they're gonna go to the main building, they're gonna have to go behind because that
So
north
that-
walkway.
So this way?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what we thought.
That north overhang ends up getting demolished because the new building comes up right up against it.
Right, okay, we're on the same page.
Okay.
So Jill and Mitch and I have been talking a lot about the bus parking situation and the challenges that we have. So one of the very first things that they mentioned is gonna go is the fuel tank, which is, we're gonna take that, at this point, on as one of our own challenges and take it out of your scope and hopefully locate it out here just west of here. You know, but we're not there yet. So we have some options that I haven't even talked to Jill about, whether or not we own our own tank or if we lease a tank. I mean, there's a couple options there for cost effectiveness and how we purchase fuel. So that's gotta go. And then this is where we parked all the buses during the summer. It was a full lot. And we know that those are gonna go out to probably the middle school out here. These are all this is the pit down here. These are buses, and these are spare buses, and all our vans are parked right in here, and they've got to be relocated. So, we got to find a home for our extra buses and our vans. We're hoping that we can do that just out here. I didn't even get a chance to talk to Mitch today, but there's a process in order to identify, you know, the square footage out here, how that lays out, and everything else. And so I haven't even shared that with you, but we may have to do some surveying and site work to even move forward. We're not ready for an RFP at this point. Another challenge that Jill has is during the winter months, these buses need to be plugged in for about five months. They are, I mean, the diesel engines are plugged in all through the winter. That way, when we need them, they do start up. So that'll be another challenge, the electricity, because that's all going to be removed, correct? It's all gone. Another issue that we're having is this is our only access for buses. Well, they can come in here and drop off and then exit this way, but all our spare buses are over here. I'm not too wild about taking buses back through this bottleneck and running it out this direction, only because it's going to be pretty tight with a lot of kids back there at the same time. Go ahead.
So, and on that note, it's virtually impossible because we also have trash that goes back there pretty regularly. All our high school deliveries come back through that lane. So just being back there personally throughout the course of the day, it is a ton of traffic, necessary or not, but if we're adding buses moving through there as well as the students moving through there, my opinion, again, just gonna be back there, we're creating an awfully hazardous situation one way or the other. It's something, you know, depending on what we can get out of there or not, but it's a very tight window. Right there to the northeast corner of where I sit is about one lane going through there. Same thing to the southeast corner of the CTE building there. There's really not room to get multiple vehicles through, so it's just, and then you had students walking and not paying attention. It's something that definitely needs to be addressed through the process.
Jill, did you have a?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted to let you know that it's not just the spare buses that's back there. Most are spare,
Right here.
but we do have all the small buses are parked back there and they go out every day. And then we do have some route drivers who live in town, so they don't take their bus home, and they are parked there too. So there would be bus traffic every day for 2 times a day for the route.
And for clarification from you guys, this is what they call the old art building?
Art barn.
Art barn. And it's not scheduled to be demolished, correct? At this point. It's a pretty rough building, but it's not scheduled to come down. Yes?
I thought that's the one we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Is it in, is it in?
Tom said, what do we keep
Yeah, we were planning on taking that now.
Yeah, but is it in the bond? I didn't know if it was in the bid.
I thought that one was staying and the smaller one just to the west of it was.
That, I know that one's going down, that's where all the electrical, yes. So we need to talk about that building. It's rough, it's a rough building. And then we have to find a location for the greenhouse, correct?
Right.
That's, we were thinking either here or somewhere in, I mean, we don't know.
I know DLR is working on that.
Okay, because we don't know how big this parking lot is gonna be to the south at all. This is rough, as you guys know how rough that is.
Yeah, I think the intention, and you'll see this in DLR's presentation next week, but is to keep most of the parking to the north.
Yes.
Because of all the grade challenges and stream issues that you would have if you went south.
So there's a couple things. This area down here is low, way down here. And that's where, those are spare buses right there.
So how much time do we all have to figure a solution out?
Well, that's what we're gonna talk about is the next step in how we attack, the bus, the transportation
Right.
system, how we're gonna look at this. And that's what Mitch is gonna present here in just a minute.
So that west entry that becomes a construction entrance closes basically when school lets out. And they start to set up all that fencing and that fuel station comes out, what was it, the 22nd, 26th?
18th to the 22nd, something.
Yeah.
Well, you can,
Yeah.
I mean, we can find homes for the buses right out here through the summer. It's, once school starts,
Right.
there's no room.
Right. And we, that's what we're,
And electrical power for the winter. So, yeah.
So my next question is, and I might be jumping ahead here, but, so then, once that building's complete, are you gonna move your construction yard to the other end?
Yeah, that's the plan, is that we would move.
So why can't we just start with the laydown yard on the other end?
lose all parking, wouldn't it?
Well, it's not just parking, it's access to the, you're talking about just going directly east.
I'm just saying, put it out there on that practice field.
Well, reducing laydown, moving, you still have your fencing for the
I'm asking.
around the building.
It's not safe for the kids either. I mean, we're talking about mixing construction traffic and kids coming and going, it's just not safe to do it that way.
Okay. I was just asking a question.
Because would you then, in that scenario, would then you'd have to have some traffic going from the laydown over to the construction.
Right, so
Right.
this is the best way to keep construction to construction, and keep kids and public really isolated, and then at that point, Chris, you just move your laydown where your construction goes,
Okay.
right?
Makes sense.
Good question.
So obviously, I guess my point, I mean, we have challenges with the transportation, but yes, I mean, we can do some things temporarily. We all agree to that. So just wanted to know that.
Is that where the buses are gonna go permanently once it's all done? Are we
That's what-
planning to
yeah.
permanently put them back there?
No,
or-
my desire would be to move them completely off that site out here. The buses, vans, yeah, it would be the transportation department.
But you're saying you can't do that in time to?
I'm not saying that.
Oh.
It's a process of getting this all complete.
There's just a lot that has to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts that will
Get a
happen.
bulldozer, let's go.
Okay.
Well, I think, I mean, there's, I don't think we have to
What are we
rush, but
waiting
we have
for?
to act fairly reasonable.
Yes.
And I think it's gonna help when we know more when we know the dollars too of where things go, because I mean, I've already heard escalating construction costs, so, we don't need to go spend $2 million on something and be 2 million short somewhere else.
So, are you really confident that, that laydown space, that amount of space would be adequate, or is there some risk that you might have to have something remote somewhere else if that isn't?
For the first phase, my thought would be if we determine it's not, that I would just continue to go out to the west into that grassy area. I would not encroach any more into the school facilities for the first phase. It seems to be available out there, so.
It is.
We're saving money on heat today, so we'll have plenty of money. Right?
Plenty.
I don't know, a few shovels.
You have any questions?
I don't know if anybody else has any questions from these guys, or I don't know if there's more to what you guys have. I mean, I appreciate the update. Just kind of, I mean, I think my key thing, I think tonight was just trying to understand what we're doing on the 20th and kind of, you know, where we're going to be at in the stage and what.
Do you feel comfortable with that, or do you have more questions on that?
I feel reasonably comfortable, but I mean, when you get the packet on the 19th and you're gonna vote for something on the 20th, it's just, what am I voting for and where's this, you know, it doesn't leave a lot of time for questions and clarifications, and I mean, we don't wanna hold the project up, but I wanna do it right, and it's just, you know, I mean, I think that, if I'm understanding, it's mostly just a kind of a footprint and a big general design, and we still have a lot of details to work out. So, and just making sure it's gone by all the people. I mean, quite honestly, we're leaning on you for.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think.
And we're trying to get her caught up.
I think the approval from the board's perspective is, yes, this is heading in the right direction. It's meeting what we promised the bond voters, to your point. And I made myself a note that included in that package, we'll create a checklist that says these were the things promised in the bond vote, and these are, you know, the extra things that are in this budget that have been worked in through this process. I mean, essentially, we're not gonna present a package collectively as a team that is over budget. So, you know, that's the task over the next week, is to work through the schematic design to make sure that we're still aligning with the $51.4 million bond budget, and just showing you within that where those funds are aligning, and saying, yes, that's where we want those things dedicated, and you know, keep developing the design.
So when we assign dollars to that a few weeks after next Thursday, if there are any surprises, what would the process be to go adjust the plan?
You mean surprises going forward past?
Well, so we're approving this schematic design without 100% of the bids in terms of the final dollars, correct?
Correct.
So if there were surprises in that process and we had to go adjust the design, what would that process look like?
So we're going to continue to refine budget efforts as the design evolves,
Okay.
right? So when we get to a DD level, we'll have a construction update on the budget, along with Eski's update on the master budget to give you a comprehensive look, right? If there's a big surprise, right, if there's something that we find some skeleton, right, we're going to identify it, work with Aaron and then DOR, see if we can find some strategies. But there are always decisions we can make through the process. And some of them could be hard, but I think we've got a good team and a good plan in place. And so if we identify something that, I don't know, hit an Indian barrel ground, right, that just blows the budget, right? Which has happened on a couple projects before.
Endangered lizard or something?
Right. You know, I've run into projects where you find an abandoned building buried in the ground, right? Just random stuff. So we raise our hand, say we got a thing, we're working on it, and then, but there are decisions we can make together as a group that may modify from a price standpoint, but I think the promises that you've made to the community, and I've been in most of or a lot of those meetings, right? At least the community meetings, they're going to stand, right? I have a pretty good confidence that they're going to hold true.
So that
it
is,
will be, sorry, that
okay.
in the budget at this level, at the schematic design level, that is the 20th meeting, there's contingencies put on all of their construction estimates. And so those are there for that specific reason. As the design develops, things come up that, you know, weren't included, that's what we use contingency for. Even going into when the budgets are locked in place and they sign subcontracts, there's still a contingency for things that, you know, buried buildings under the soil that they find. And so part of my job is to help Lauren and the board keep an eye and manage those contingencies and help McCown and DLR make good decisions on how we use those funds.
I'll be real nervous if we start allocating contingency during design though.
No, and one of the things that, Aaron's mentioned, so we have a built-in kind of design contingency going, that when the next phase of design comes out, there's gonna be some things that we didn't see at this phase, because there's no details and things like that. So we're anticipating those kind of things right now in the budget that we put that.
So we'll maintain a design contingency and construction contingency.
Right.
Construction contingency won't move, right? Percentage point, it'll stay the same all the way through. Design contingency percentage will come down as design detail increases.
So once you sign a GMP, all that's left is the construction contingency.
Yep. For that, let's go.
Construction contingency,
We have two different.
right,
Right.
the utility package and, yeah.
I was just wondering, a few people have asked me recently when the bidding process starts, so, or do we know that?
Yeah, and for the site package, if they're interested in utility work or potential building work, or whatever, we're gonna get construction documents on April 2nd. And immediately after that, we'll put out, advertisements, and I don't have the bid dates on top of my head, but it'll be latter part of April. And again, we're trying to, and with the intent of coming to the May 11th board meeting to get approval of the GMP. The construction documents for the main building are August 24th or something like that, somewhere around there. And I think we're looking at a later part of September board meeting and starting construction in October. So it would be late August, early September timeframe for bidding the building package.
I appreciate that extra explanation and your time and kind of outlining that, helping us through it.
Thank you
I
all.
mean, I think I think what we talked about at the beginning is just trying to, if we can, we can have a better views of the information
Yeah,
beforehand
yeah.
or something like that, and even for the, and that's not on you, it's
No,
common.
but-
We have this screen and it's
Yeah.
hard to see with the regular file, but I'm
We'll,
sure we
we're
work with,
working real hard on getting all those dates into the schedule last couple of days so for sure next month, we'll get those documents out early to be part of your board package.
appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I guess are you the bad news Mitch or?
No.
I would like to preface that my design documents aren't quite as
Another
fancy. I don't think they did theirs with a Sharpie and a ruler. That's where I'm at. But so what I got for you guys is a little bit of an updated look on what we touched on last week, or last month, excuse me. So I had I sat down with a couple of construction companies and tried to get a little bit more detailed look at what the project would look like for building a new transportation and maintenance building out here. And so we were kind of looking at a price point and just kind of trying to wrap our head around whether it was going to be what it was going to cost. So that's kind of what we looked at. And so what you got is kind of a new rendering of the building. And basically, the one I showed you last time was kind of in an L, and the companies have all been pretty universal in saying that if we simplify the design of the building, the price goes way, way down. So we can certainly do that. Then the last couple pages are just kind of to give you an idea. Again, this is me with Sharpie. So, but the very last page has, that outlined area is roughly 110,000 square feet out here. So there's two pictures there. The first one shows you some of the measurements and things, and where the arrows are on that is where the grade drops off considerably. So the area that we'd be working in or that we'd be able to do anything on is kind of outlined on the complete outside of that, and then everything else drops back down into some pretty rough areas. Then the second page just kind of shows you what the square footage of the building would look like, and then the orange part is, that's about 30 buses. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an idea. Now this is very, like, it does not have to look like this. This is just me taking the space that we have and saying, okay, this is the 10,000 square foot building. This is the square footage that 30 buses would take up. Here's the square footage of the fuel island, and this, the rest of this space. Can we get buses to drive through there? Can we make turning radiuses? Can a semi truck get in there to load fuel, et cetera, et cetera. And then, like I said, there's also a page in there that kind of gives us an idea of what some of these costs are going to look like, and then start putting together what exactly we need, put an RFP together, and really start hammering this down. Obviously, Lauren touched on the traffic issue and needing to move the buses. The biggest concern I have is if we do park out here and we got to go to the winter, it's the power situation. Right now, off the top of my head, we're running an extension cord through the parking lot and pigtailing off and keep our buses powered in the winter, because they're demoing the building that houses the power for our current buses. So one of those three buildings they showed you, the little one in back, has the breaker box that holds the power that all our buses come out of. So when that goes down, we're going to lose the power back there behind the buildings. And like I said, I don't necessarily think we probably need or want the buses traveling in and out of the south side of the building on a regular basis. So if we're out here temporarily in the summer, obviously no big deal, but then when we get to the winter months and having to plug the buses in and do some things like that, that gets a little bit complicated. And so I know Lauren and I have talked about some possibilities of how we want to maybe try to look at doing this, or if it's something we want to do, and I don't know if you've dealt into that whole.
Well, the one thing that I found out this afternoon by just talking to some general contractors was the very first thing that we need to do is actually set up site development plans. And so that would be the grade, the entranceways, utilities, the hookups, all of those things need to be developed before we ever go out for like an RFP on a building. And so, because you want to get those site plans perfect, so that when they bid this, that we're all bidding on the same thing. And I mean, I know we have some people here in town. I mean, I'm just using like Schlegel's, for example. They've done a lot of work here locally in the city. They would be a good resource for us to hire and to go out here and start that process. And so that's, I mean, I've talked to Chris about this just a little bit, but would you agree? I mean, that's step one.
Well, I think it's gonna be more fiscally responsible than dealing with the people we're dealing with at a school bond.
Right.
Well, that's also a huge piece of what's missing from anything we know right now is I can't get a bid from anybody to say, hey, dirt work at gravel is going to cost X amount of dollars, because there's no, until they start shooting grade and doing some things like that.
Yeah,
so
you don't know if you're moving 2,000 yards of dirt or 10,000 yards of dirt.
It's 40,000.
So what are we, is this an engineer, or are we just talking about a survey company, or are we getting like an engineer?
I would anticipate that you would have an engineered site plan. And then you would put that out to RFP.
Right.
Because the building is the building. I don't think that that's gonna change anything with these folks.
Nope.
Most of the numbers on actual buildings are coming in pretty, you know, just in very general conversations. Hey, this is what we need, 10,000 square foot building, this, all those conversations are coming pretty universal. So it's about what it's gonna take to put the building down there. And I don't know, maybe that number comes back and decide.
So, I mean, do we need to I mean, I don't know if the cost on that, I I mean,
What I would appreciate is just the board providing me the ability to go out and hire a site development team to shoot the grade, to figure out what's all entailed prior to the construction.
Well, even prior, because you're almost talking about a almost pre-design effort to assess the site and what.
We have to.
And then you would go into, and if.
Then RFP.
Then you would go into, well, I mean, I would want to first, say, hey, are the soils there adequate? Or there's some gates there, I would think, that you would want to determine before you just do a design and then figure out that there's a bunch of challenges there that are going to add cost.
So that is the first step. The site management piece or site development piece.
Is there, I assume it's a relatively straightforward building, the layout and everything, that, is there, sometimes a lot of this stuff, you have turnkey design build firms that will do it all. They'll do the design, development,
Right.
everything.
Well, we still have to. The people that are bidding on all of it still need to have the same plans.
Right.
In order to properly bid this to the best of their ability, and that's.
So what we don't want to do is get 4 different turnkey construction companies that are all going to spend the money on the site work.
Usually you give them like a bridging package or something like that. That it's not fully designed, but it has enough information for them to say, here's what it's going to take for us to finish the design and build it.
well, I mean, it almost seems like to me we need to solicit companies. I mean,
Yeah.
if you put it out there for a proposal
For
site plan and we get 2 or 3 offers, or maybe one person, and then we can see what that cost is. But it seems like the reasonable. I mean, I think we from the beginning we're trying to. It'd be cheaper to do it on our own property than to go somewhere else.
Right.
So I think this is our first.
We may discover that this is.
Well, like Drew said, they would have probably some first line items. They test the soil and they say it's so bad you can't build here. We're done. But I mean,
Right.
or it's cost prohibitive or something like that. But I mean,
And they're going to look into all the utilities and
we
all
got
that.
2 schools up
I
here.
thought
yes,
there
that's not
was
the case.
talk one point that you couldn't build over here because of the water tower.
No,
Is that?
that's not the case.
Okay, I thought I had heard that.
There's an immediate area right below the water
I
tower
think we
that
could
the
go.
city shows, but it wouldn't affect.
I thought it was
cities.
farther out that they.
No, we're going to be actually on the other side of the street. So when I talk to city, it has no bearing. So that's what I'd like to do is.
I don't know if we really need an action item, but just to ask you to.
I'm going to go out and get
just
this.
to-
I mean, as long as the biggest challenge out there is probably going to be digging, seeing how shallow that sandstone, because this is all on a lot of sandstone. So if you don't have to dig down too deep, you're probably all right.
It's the area that's outlined there is pretty flat because, like I said, it takes a hard dive, drainage back into behind the housing there, and then obviously when a big slope that goes down to the playground here at the elementary school. So it's relatively flat. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not one of dirt works. It may be going to be in that, but it's a pretty good place, just personally speaking, to do this.
So if you had fuel tanks out there, what would the route be for the trucks to fill them? Would they have to come then up through the?
So we talked about that. I would guess pretty seriously that the city's not gonna want a semi driving through the residential there, but they should be able to just come through the district. I mean, we get every delivery truck makes it through there, so they should. I would think if our roads and things are set to our food delivery trucks, our trash trucks, our buses, I would think that fuel tankers.
Yeah.
But the fuel tanker, you're probably not gonna get a semi. We're not buying enough fuel to get a semi load of fuel at a time, I wouldn't think.
Well, no, we can do it both ways. I did talk to the fuel companies today, Jill.
You did?
Right now, we get a semi,
Yeah.
but they can actually, they will bid us on more frequent deliveries with not as large a tanker.
They will, but we won't get the cost.
That's not what the guy I talked to, I mean, I think that could be debated.
It should.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah,
The
if
turning
they're gonna
radius
make
to
another
get through
trip,
there,
they're gonna charge a
if
little
we can get a
bit
bus
more.
through there, we can get.
Could be, the biggest thing is you only wanted 4 trips.
The current fuel company that I
Right.
talked to said it definitely makes a difference on your, the size. of
Delivery,
your-
yeah, and that makes sense.
If we're making it to house buses, I think that's one of Jill's biggest concerns, is making sure we have turning radius for buses, and there's plenty of room for all that. If we're getting our largest buses through there on a pretty regular basis, it's gonna be large enough to.
Yeah, it was just to be the traffic and scheduling, because you wouldn't want a tanker to show up at, yeah, in the morning or at pickup, right? Which I think you could, I would imagine they do that kind of stuff all the time, it'd just be part of the contract.
But it's a minor detail that you could work
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
I don't see any harm in getting some bids for the site work, but before we bite off paying for that site work, I think we ought to just directionally feel like we know what we're looking at. Are we talking about $1 million, $5 million? I don't know what it is. And
My
make sure that we
estimation-
collectively
yeah.
say, hey, if the site work comes back good, this is really a project that we want to go do. And I don't know.
I truly believe, with all the information that we've collected so far, and depending on the fuel tank, whether or not we purchase it on our own, or it's provided by a fuel company, we'll be in that $700,000 range. Is what that's what the numbers look like at this point. Right.
Are you looking above ground tanks
Yes,
then?
above ground.
So, question here, and I don't want to get off base, but I see on this one little item here that the underground fuel tank is not part of the bond to remove?
Yes, that is. No, the demolition of the tank is.
Okay.
This is from the company that
That's
Jill
from-
came up with.
That's given us numbers on a brand new above ground tank around here. So I think you're seeing a number in there that's like 40,000
For the removal of the tank and removal and
That would
backfill.
be, I
and
think,
everything.
if we completely subcontracted that out, but I know the tank removal's in the bond.
Right.
Part of what account's doing, so that's just that company. I think when Jill was asking, hey, how much does a new fuel tank system gonna cost us? They said, okay.
At least you got something represented.
Right.
So that's got all that.
And we found out these numbers are pretty close from some of the people I've checked with today and what McCown Gordon came up with on demo. So they checked with the same people, I think. Is that what you said? Yeah.
And what is your experience with the DEF fluid now? What are you currently doing? Because I know it's an ongoing problem and it's just gonna be a bigger problem
Right.
as we transition to newer buses.
Buying it by the pallet,
Yeah?
just so for the cost, and so they come in 2.5 gallons.
Absolutely.
And we just have it like that.
Right.
So, and not all of our buses obviously have that right now because we have older buses, but all the new buses are coming needing that DEF.
So just, I guess I don't know if that helps you on maybe a price range.
Sure. No,
But to me, still, it goes back to that first step is,
I agree, and I don't think it hurts anything to get bids for the site work. I guess my point is, before we approve a contract, let's all feel comfortable that,
yes.
But
That's-
certainly get proposals for it.
Yeah, I think we gotta explore our options here so we can figure out what's the best way to go forward. And part of the exercise that Lori did to show what we do have been doing out of capital outlay is kind of help people get a handle on where we've been and where that's headed and what we've done in the past.
Did anybody talk about the timing, anything just like for?
Well, when we talked, just using more, for example, they were talking 3 months? No, that was just building the building.
Right, site's ready to go.
Right.
They show up,
Right.
yeah, everything
So
underground is there.
it would be a push for us to imagine doing all what we're doing now and that being all ready by the start of school.
Oh, yeah, I would
It would be-
say you're at best looking into the year.
Yes, I would agree.
Not for school.
And-
I was just
and
thinking
we
about
know that.
power and stuff like that.
And that can turn around faster than you think,
It would be nice.
because I think it's more ready than you would.
I think the site work and the fuel tank and the utility relocation is gonna be the majority of the project. I
Right.
think and I would guess, once we've got the parking lot put down, fuel tanks in, we can start utilizing it even if the building is still under construction. I mean, we're still gonna get out of it what we need, a place to park buses, a place to power buses, a place to fuel buses that's off-site. I would bet that all can get done, because I would think that'd probably be the first place the project would go. The building would come at the end, so.
Yeah.
Well, it might be nice too to have a good, better, best with this project. Could we get by with power and a fuel island for a year? I don't know the answer to that question, but we ought to at least think through, is there a good, better, best type option here?
So, and my thought on that is that we're going to have to put the utilities in for the parking lot. I mean, that'd just be my preference. So you put all that down, everything would be underground, so then it gets to a point where if we're 2/3 of the way into the project, the building's the cheapest part of the project. The concrete's gonna be expensive in the building, but the actual building itself, probably all things considered. So we're talking about power to buses and things like that. When we get so far in, at some point, it just kind of makes sense to finish it.
I'm
And
not,
that's-
yeah, that could well be,
There's
but
always-
it'd be nice to have some options
Sure.
to think
And
about.
I think when we go to bid it out, we can stage it, and I've kind of mentioned that to Lauren, and looking at all of our options.
We're looking at options for Jill. She knows that she might temporarily be housed in the middle school. I mean, we're thinking about that.
So, what are we doing for fueling from when they demo it in May to whenever?
Don't need a lot of fuel. I mean, we'll need some. They'll have to buy it from the pump.
August time frame?
Yeah.
When school starts back up?
That's why it'd be nice to have everything. Yeah, we'll have to buy from the pump for a little bit.
Do any of the places offer kind of a fleet program to us or not? I don't know what the options are there. Or if that's even.
I'm not sure about that. We do have fleet cards for our vans and whatnot, and we do get, where we do get a little bit of a break. But we figured those numbers with the break or not.
I don't know. It might just be something to explore, like Drew, because what's timing and what's it cost? What's that cost?
Yeah, we're paying for it again,
Can you get gas from the grocery store or not? Or is it not,
Diesel.
it's not set up for that?
Casey's has diesel, I'm not sure, and it's just can't be as common for us.
And I think that's a minor, I think that's a non-issue. I think you could get a portable tank set here with a 12-volt battery and,
Yeah, and that was mentioned,
yes.
was it in your
Yes.
thing? Because I do have something that.
To get
Yeah, I think-
that as well.
Fuel is pretty minor. I mean, it's a big deal in the whole picture, but
Right.
it can be achieved.
They did say that the tank itself takes 12 to 14 weeks to construct, just for your knowledge.
Based on capacity, your desired.
Right.
I mean, but if you wanted a fuel tank here next week, you could have one. It may not be your desired capacity, but you will have one.
Right.
And at least get you out of the bind, in the event that would happen.
Right.
Well, I think everyone's interested in at least engaging seeking out firms to consult with us from a design standpoint so we can kind of move forward and make some decisions. And I appreciate, Mitch, all the extra time you've had to put into plotting this out.
I like your drawings.
Pretty good.
It'll be called Loomis
Jill.
Drive.
Now, did your daughter draw that?
Ooh.
Thank you, Jill, thank you for hanging in
Yeah,
there.
Jill, appreciate it.
Because I know
Get to feeling better.
you're making me feel bad.
All right. I think we got all the presentations. Do you need a break? Time is it?
Yeah.
7:49.
Some pee?
3 minutes or
Yeah, that'd be good.
3 minutes good?
Mitch, I think it's getting hot.
Well, temporary.
It is not. It's freezing cold.
Take a little break.
My
All right, we'll call the meeting back into session. Move on to item 2, the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carries. Public comments. I don't believe we had any public comments. We'll go jump into reports. Lauren.
Okay, I'll move along pretty quickly here. The one thing that I did have on here is you see that we will be in the next 2 weeks or more be looking at THS assistant principal AD interviews. That's official, so that'll be a process that we'll be involved in. It'll be very, very similar to the one in which I served on the committee when we hired Ashley. So there'll be a lot of similarity there. And then I just want to make sure I'll be gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to the AASA National Conference in San Diego. And there will be about 40 to 45 Kansas superintendents in attendance, most of which are serving either on the KSSA Board of Directors or with USA Kansas. So I'm one of those group attending, and I'm looking forward to that. And I think that's, and then the rest of it is just, I mean, we have it really busy, as you could all imagine, with meetings and discussion. And I just have to tell you that Aaron with Esky and Associates, I mean, there's constant contact or communication during the day, into the evening. I mean, that's just how she works. And so she's really keeping us on track, and I appreciate what she does. Robin O'Rourke with DLR does a good job too, but nothing to the comparison level of what we're getting from Esky and Associates. I mean, I don't care if it's Sunday or when, she's working on our behalf. So, very pleased. So, if you have any questions about any of that, just a lot going on. It's good.
So will they start advertising that position?
Yes, after tonight. It'll be posted after tonight. And we look forward to some really strong applicants.
It's already posted now.
You put it on, I thought
Yeah.
Mark was gonna wait, but.
We got one applicant already, that's fine.
Jeez.
It
Okay.
came through to this afternoon.
Okay, all right, thank you. Didn't know that.
All right. Tanya, or is there any questions? Sorry, is there any questions for Lauren? I didn't hear any. Tanya, thank you.
Mine's pretty quick. We're entering assessment season, so we are giving the pre-ACT again. Again, the legislature has allocated money toward that, so we'll be giving the pre-ACT to those juniors who've signed up for that February 25th through 27th. It's the online, and last year we gave it last year, and we just got the information back from that, so we can use that with the students to help them to do better in the ACT. So it's very valuable information.
Do we get a large number participating in that, or?
Yes, I can't remember off the top of my head how many kids last year. It was several, but we were also able to give it to seniors last year too if they hadn't taken it yet. This year it's limited to just juniors. And then at the beginning of this year, I think it was October, we gave the pre-ACT to those freshmen. So that was good information. We also have state assessments coming up. Mr. Mann mentioned that. We are right in the middle of giving CELTA assessments to our English language learners. We have about 40-some students taking those. I mean, you wouldn't think that looking at our district, but we do have a lot of English language learners in our district. So they're testing. We have those other test dates coming up for our state assessments. And then we have professional development coming up this week, and there's the schedule there on number 4, so you can see when we're in school, when we're out of school, and what's going on this week. It's a busy time.
Any other questions for Tanya? Anyone? Yes, lady with a cookie.
Doritos. Okay, so will you remind me on the freshman ACT, like the pre-ACT?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have those results back?
Yes,
Yes,
those don't
okay.
get released.
Your son hasn't shared that with you?
No, he hasn't. Now he will.
We got information. It actually came in a huge packet. There's all kinds of different reports that we have for us to use to adjust their education and how we can help them better. We get to keep the books, the test booklets that go with it. Normally ACT you do not get to keep those, but this pre-ACT you do. So we can go back, look at the students' answers and what the correct answer was, and go back and work through that. So our high school staff is in the middle of trying to disaggregate that, pull out the math to work with math teachers and English. So there's a lot of digging through that we still have yet to do, but it's brand new too. So we just got those results and we're trying to unpack all of that and figure it out.
Okay, so there's not individual, so each individual student won't have a conversation with somebody about, hey, you did great in science, but you did bad in math, so this is an area that you need to focus. I mean, like, how does I guess that's my question. How does the student know what to do to improve their scores from that?
That's what we're working out with our teachers to try to figure out how to deal with that in the classroom. I don't know if there's a separate parent report. I didn't see that in the group of reports that I saw, but we'll go back and look through that again. I didn't know if there was a parent report that was sent out. I don't believe there was.
No,
yeah,
I didn't see one.
Right, so that's
Got a
one thing
report
that
on
we
what
have to look through
their
too
score
and
was.
figure out. And since it's brand new, we're just trying to sort through this giant stack of data and try to figure that out. We do have it electronically also, so we're still working through that. It's a pretty large large chunk that we just got. So.
Okay.
Any other questions for Tanya? If not, we'll jump into the action items. 5.1 is the memorandum of understanding facilities use agreement with West Haven. I might let Lauren.
Yep, both Ryan and I will kind of jump in on this. Ryan, thank you for being here tonight, and we just met this a few hours ago with you guys. So this has been, is there enough for everybody? Good. This has been the MOU that we put together several weeks ago and has gone through several updates and suggestions and changes. We have run this by KASB for their input, so we feel like we've done all our due diligence. Mr. Bothwell has been highly involved in this process too. And you know, we're just very pleased that we have the kind of working relationship we do with West Haven Baptist Church to come to a lot of just general agreements. And at this point, I mean, this is our final document. We met this afternoon and just we signed off on it, which, I mean, really doesn't take effect until the board approves it, of course. And I don't know what your process is on your end, if you have, you know, if the minister signing it is good enough. I'm not real sure.
You guys approve, we're good to go.
That's what I didn't know for sure. I hadn't asked. So, I mean, there's some really generous opportunities in here as far as, you know, they're not asking for rent, they're not asking for a deposit. We have checked with our insurance companies for liability. We have, I mean, we just feel like we've covered a lot of the little things to make this a successful agreement. And they've been very honest with us, and these are our concerns, and talking about custodial services, those costs. I think there could be some discussion with the board if we want to actually help pay for some of those expenses. You know, that's up to the board. I'll turn it over.
I keep asking to define kind of what we're paying for, because I feel that the church deserves something. There's going to be increased costs from extra people and things. I mean, a minimum of some utilities, but I appreciate and understand that church's stance on, I guess, leaving it as us making a donation. So I don't know if it necessarily needs to be part of, obviously that's the church's stance, if I'm understanding correctly, is they want nothing. But I guess my opinion for the board would be, maybe not part of this agreement, we kind of agree on some kind of a fee we're willing to reimburse, a donation, I guess, that we will make for their generosity. Just, I think it's only fair, but I think that's really the main concern I guess I've had. I think most of the other concerns I had were kind of been addressed.
The timeline, I mean, Ryan's, they've been outstanding. They're going to be probably vacating that office area spring break or 2 weeks after. I mean, just to be safe.
Pre-April.
Right, so, I mean, we would probably move over, not in one big rush, but try to do it in a reasonable manner so that we're not just knocking ourselves out. But I would like to be in that facility the first week of May, for example. I mean, to give us time to do it right, to get the connectivity where it needs to be with Forest. Just make that move. This furniture piece, you know, what furniture we keep. You guys are going to be moving some of your furniture into storage, and some of our furniture will be used in there. So just little things like that, little details. So we won't feel rushed at all.
What do we do with the furniture things, I guess, that we don't take there, but is that gonna go into storage somewhere here? Or
We're gonna have to find a home. Yes, that is still to be decided. I mean, we're talking a lot of stuff out there in the shop area, and we sort of have a plan, but not detailed enough. We have some areas like in the maintenance shop where we can store some things, but yeah, we still have to work on that. I don't have a real good answer. But with this, I mean, going back to this, we feel that this is complete at this point. And Ryan, I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah, big thing for us is, you know, we really look at the suite when we turn it over to the school. It is the school's home. It's no longer, yes, it's connected to our church, but it's no longer part of our church for that you know, period of time. Signage and things like that, we want to make sure it's visibly accessible for the public to know exactly where the board offices are, both, you know, signage at the road and then some signage on the doors of the church to know where access and entrance points are. And then the biggest thing for us is we're pretty flexible on this. If you guys get to the end of 3 years and it's a few months longer, you know, we know how construction goes, and it just isn't going to affect us that much. So we're pretty flexible across the board if something were to extend out or if there were some accommodations we needed to make. This is, you know, our church is huge, and we don't use it during the week, so this isn't a huge inconvenience for us in any way, shape, or form. So that's why it made sense just to extend that off.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah, no kidding. Thank you, Ryan.
Any thoughts, questions? If no one has any questions,
You don't have a bus facility, do you?
They gotta take part of that. Fuel tank.
You have a temporary fuel tank over there, right?
Fortunately, no.
They hit the Catholics up across the street. Anyway, I'd entertain a motion to approve this agreement.
Move to approve the MOU as stated.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
The generosity.
Thank you.
Your patience here. All right. 5.2, administrative contract renewals. I think, it's that time of year. I guess where we typically extend all the contracts, I believe it's 1 year additional. I think Lauren his recommendation is that we proceed with that. Yes, obviously, if there's any concerns or discussion, we probably need to address that in an executive session about any particular individuals. But overall, I think
I've completed all the evaluations. They are done, and I would highly recommend to bring back our team. We have 2 that won't be coming back, and but I would highly recommend all the others at the elementary, middle school, and district office, and the high school.
Okay, I make a motion to approve item 5.2.
Second.
all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carries. I'll approve the superintendent to extend those contracts. 5.3, the owner's rep contract. There's been a lot of activity here in January. I forwarded on that Red Lines contract. Drew and I met with Aaron, maybe it's a month ago, it was right after the last meeting. You know, we worked through our arrangement, I think we're agreeable on all the terms. She's waiting to get a few things ironed out in terms of insurance, because this arrangement's a little different than some that she's done previously. And she changed up some of hers, so we don't necessarily have all of that. I think everyone saw the adjusted agreement she submitted. It was a lump sum fee of $534,150 and 35 equal payments. She has been working with us for January, and Lauren has authority to make that payment. So she's worked with us. I think there's been recognition of the value she provides by the administration. It's a large amount. It's kind of a unique thing. In hindsight, I kind of wish we would have maybe hired her. Her is the first person we ever hired out of all this process. But anyway, I would support that we, I guess the board authorizing signing that contract contingent upon receipt of the final version of her contract. I don't know if there's any other questions or concerns. Drew, I mean, you were heavily involved in that and provided a lot of good dialogue with her.
Yeah, I mean, agreeable to our insurance requirements and coordinating that.
If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve item 5.3.
I'll make a motion to approve item 5.3.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, motion carried. 5.4, I think we kind of went through this last month, but it wasn't an action item, so I don't know unless there's...
These are all the same courses from last time, except number 7 was just added diesel engine fundamentals. I don't believe that we got that one in last time.
I don't think so.
That is the one that Pittsburgh State University is partnering with us so that Mr. Maurer can teach diesel mechanics, and they are providing all the curriculum and everything. So that's a huge benefit for our students, and they can receive credit for that, college credit.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, on curriculum, will the Spanish program at the high school remain the same? Yes.
Yes. We will have an opening, obviously, but we'll fill that and we'll continue.
All right, is there a motion to approve item 5.4?
I'll make a motion to approve item 5.4.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, course is approved. The last item is the bus purchase that Jill went over earlier. As she noted, this is already going to build into the budget, just kind of the replacing, the revolving thing of keeping our fleet fresh. So I think the recommendation was to pick the second one on the middle one on the list. So is there a motion to approve item 5.5?
Make a motion to approve item 5.5.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All right.
And you know, it's the one from Midwest.
Midwest. All right, motion is carried. I don't know what item 6 was intended for. I don't know if we have. With that executive session, there's one item. I guess I will. What do you think?
I can do this really quickly. 5 minutes even.
Okay. I guess I will move that we adjourn into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters to protect the privacy interests of an identifiable individual. Invite Lauren to attend and set a time limit of 5 minutes.
And Jill, in time you can come in too.
Tanya, come on in. All right, we'll reconvene the meeting. I believe there's no action item out of that. Move on to the next item on the agenda, general board discussion. I do not believe I have anything. I mean, I will not be here the 20th. I'll probably have to call in. So, Chris, you're in charge for that meeting. For the special meeting, and hopefully they'll get us all our stuff out. And the only thing I jotted down was about that. Lauren and I have been talking about this how to proceed at this maintenance and bus thing. I think we have that solved from earlier discussion, so. With that, and the only other thing is that stick around after the meeting, I'd like to get a
Oh,
picture
yeah.
with everybody.
Take a picture.
All right, meeting adjourned.